To start the tutorial, I begin by putting a primitive cube on the screen. I lower the size to 6 inches on the Z, 1 inch on the Y, and 2 inches on the X, so that I have proper size. I think I have to resize the Z at 7 inches because I didn't like the length. I just do that so I have, general scale. So I enlarge it, that way I can see it. And I create a primitive by pressing C. I change the shading, garage shading, with lines, and now I access my knife tool by pressing MK. I select loop, and I slice it. I then move to the edge selection, press UB for ring selection. I connect it, and then I connect it again, and then I press UL, and then I enlarge. I once again press UB to do ring selection. I connect that. Press UL again. I switch to point mode, and then I scale it up on the Y-axis to get my rounding. Don't really know what I was doing right here. Probably listening to a song. I'm not sure. So now I pick a cylinder, which actually I end up making a mistake here. I choose a cylinder, and usually I choose it on 8 segments because it's the lowest possible one you can have and still maintain the roundness. So I size it up. This is pretty normal. Same thing I did to this the next time when I choose 16 so that I have the proper amount of subdivisions. So I continue to line this up. Raise it on the Y, just tweaking. And now I press Command A to select all, and this is when I optimize, because if you don't and you smooth it, it will be separate, the top and bottom of the cylinder. So I select my edges, and I click only select visible elements, and I disengage that so I'm able to select all the way through, and I melt those so that my triangles are gone. Because I don't like triangles, I only like quads in my meshes. So this is when I reverse, I keep reversing, and the cylinder is gone, as I realized my mistake. So this time I choose 16, I come back, scale it down, line it up, make it a little bigger. And I press C to convert it to a polygon mesh. I do once again, I select the edges. So then I can melt them. I optimize, I press Command A. And now I have my cylinder. I smooth both of them. I then go in and I tweak the hypernerbs by pressing MK to get my knife selection again. That way when it rounds, it doesn't round too much. Start slicing. I'm going to create a little accent. I'm going to take this and I'm going to shrink it down a little bit more so it gives me more of that grip. Now to work on the paddle part. So I'm going to knife the top and bottom so when it smooths it's... Oh, nope, I use the connect function. That way I can bevel it and I can create the same exact creasing. So now it's smoothed. What I want to do is I want to select my points. I go to rectangle, I disengage only select visible. And now I use the scale function and I bring it all down to 0% on the scale. That way it makes a flat surface and I am able to push it back towards the handle. Next, I'm going to choose the inner rung of these. And make sure I have both sides selected. I'm pretty sure I did. And press hold Control and scale on the y-axis. I disengage the X and Z. I do a small extrusion so it holds the crease. And now I will do one where I disengage the Y and on the Z and X and I extrude inward so that holds the crease. That way when it's raised, it's beveled already and I don't have to go in and knife it. So now everything is smooth and basically the object has been modeled at this point. I think the handle needs a little bit more geo on the end. So I press Q to disengage the hypernerbs. I hold MK down, I knife it, press Q again, and now it's back. And it's got that little, knob that it has on the bottom usually. There are many different types of paddles. Some of them have everything on the front of it. Some of them just have the leather glued on it. I did the one where I grew up playing with these, and it just had leather on the wooden part. So let's see, what do I do now? I think I'm going to go get a checkerboard surface to check everything out, see where it's stretching. You can get an idea quite a bit. You need to go in and you need to tile the UV, otherwise it's going to be rather large. So I just usually put 10 and 10. That way I can see what it's doing. It's a little much on the handle part, but no big deal. So 10 again, 10 again. And you can choose in the hypernerbs, you have to go to the Catmull-Clark and you can choose edge detection, and the edge detection will cause it to smooth on the edges, otherwise it'll stretch. And that's where we're at right now, and that's just pretty much modeling. There's no UVing involved in it at all. So I take them out of the hypernerbs, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start doing my edge selections using the UL function, which is the loop selection, and also I will be going to the select menu and using path selection. So I start with a paddle, select that out, and I just start cutting. Go in, make sure that I've got the right selection, and I'm going to be cutting on planes. Now the leather will unfold naturally, and I want to keep that completely whole, so when I do texture it, it's good. And I'm also going to go in and I'm going to cut on the bottom and the top, so when the sides fold out, I am able to basically just have it a flat plane. And that right there is the path selection tool that I'm using. So yeah, I go in here and I realize that I've gone a little bit more than I should, so I correct that and make sure everything's good on that end, and I go on the other end and I do exactly the same. So when the sides fold out, they just fold out as straight strips. So once I select it, I go and I press V on the right, and then I set my selection. And now I've set my selection for the paddle, and I go in and I select the handle, and I do exactly the same thing. I do edge selection, I select the geo, and I do UL on the top and on the bottom, and then I do a path selection, as I did before, to select the bottom part of it. Once that's all set up, once again, I will just Press V, select, set selection. So now this is the point in which you are ready to go and enter UV edit, because now we've set our selections and all we have to do is basically do a frontal projection on each object and unwrap it. And so here I go. So now I enter BP UV edit, and I'll bring in the UVs over to the paddle or the handle, and I set it up. Just align it on your screen, make sure it's there, go into polygon UV edit mode and do a frontal projection. Go over to the relax UV, take your edge selection you did before, press apply. You can do ABF or LSCM, doesn't really matter. Sometimes, you know, just click around because it can relax multiple times and you'll just see which one you like better. So at this point I'm wondering what's going on, why am I not able to select my mesh? And it's because I am not in the actual selection tool. So I realize that. I come over, get the selection, I now can alt click into it and I can select all of it, all of the pieces that are fully connected rather than individually. So I'm holding down 6 and rotating it, and 4 is the number that will move it. So I'm holding 6 again, I'm pressing 4 to rotate and move. So I line those up. Now the UVs are on the texture map, and we're moving on to the paddle. And I will do this exactly the same as the other one. So I go in here, I'm going to do a frontal projection. I'm going to go over, do my edge selection, which I need to be in the polygon mode. I set it up, and I relax. And now all of them are hanging right there. And I don't usually scale much, but I did in this just to show you an example of like how you would set it up and you would keep the UV, you know, the texture flowing from one end to the other. I'll end up doing an optimal map because I'm going to combine the two polygon meshes together, and I'm going to show you how to use an extra texture view in order to line everything up rather than just doing optimal mapping. So I select all of these, and I'm trying to save as much texture space as I can in doing the process. So I go up to the top of the menu, and I'm looking for the connect function. I'm not exactly sure where it is in this, so I just go back to the standard layout and click on the array icon where it's hidden. So the connect function, I put both of them in there, and I go right back to the BP UV edit. And if I drag the connect in, I have both of them in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to my texture viewer. So new texture view. I now have another one up, and I can singularly drag one of them in. So now I have this, and in real time it updates where it is. So now they're not overlapping, and what I can technically do is just connect them, make one object, and optimally map them. And now I have it all on one texture plane. Otherwise, it could cause problems if your polygons overlap when you try to map them all in one. So at this point, that's UV'd. That is an object that has been completely UV'd. This is what I told you I was going to show you. But I don't stop there. I decided that I was going to just show you the whole process. This is what you want, though. You want an even texture map that shows checker patterns all over it that are the same size. So you can see you're having edges, and once I press that, it goes right back and it shoots into the proper hyperNURBS. Now this is real time, just me making all this up. Go right back to BP UV edit, and the reason that I can't see anything is because my texture, I tiled it. So if I go right back to 1, it'll shoot everything back onto there. And what I want to do is go to my layer, and now I'm going to select the mesh that I want to initiate. I don't want to recalculate my UV, and I want to set my texture size to 2048 by 2048. And I want to have 0 quantizing. I finish, it's been created. I then click the button to UV mesh layer, and I save the texture out as my diffuse. So I go in and I open Photoshop. I get my diffuse, and there it is. UV mesh layer, and now I know where to lay my textures down, so I think I go on to Internet Explorer and I grab a wood and a leather texture. You're gonna want them fairly big, so usually you're gonna look for the stuff that's a fairly large size. I don't usually get anything that's under 1,000. And this was the one that I finally chose. I drag and drop it. And I think I realize after I get there that I don't have the wood texture, so I have to go back in to Internet Explorer and drag and drop that as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open both of these textures. Now they're there. And I could have very well just placed them, but I decided to drag and drop them. And now they're all in one, and I close the textures. And I press Command T or Control T to shrink it down. And then I realign this with the paddle handle. You'll notice that I'm zooming in and out, and if you press F to get the full canvas, and you hold down Alt and Spacebar, you can zoom in and out. So once again, I press Command T, I rotate it with a free transform, and I will press Enter. And what I'll do is I'll do a quick selection here, and if I'm in the selection thing and hold down Alt and drag, you will get a new selection in that same layer that you're able to manipulate. It's really handy if you want to do quick duplications. Allows me to texture extremely fast without having to copy and paste and having all these different layers. So once again, that's just hold down Alt and left click and drag, and you will get it. So I go in here and I do a clone stamping so I can match the color values. That way when I go to heal the section, I'm not creating multiple brightness values, I guess you could say. I'm trying to match it as close as I possibly can. But I'm not going to be extremely picky. Alright, moving on, I moved to the leather, and I think what I was going to do is I was going to erase half of it, and then I realized I could just turn it And I go in and cover both of the paddle covers. Press enter to confirm it. I delete over the wooden sections, as those are the two wooden parts that I need to still do. And I was going to copy and paste, but I think I decide... Oh, yeah, I was going to do like smaller areas. I've done that, but then I realized that I did that for a chandelier, and it would have been different sections. It wasn't the same case. So I backtrack in a second and just cover the whole area with one solid wood texture that I place over it. So this is me going, oh, yeah, don't do that. So I press Command D and that will deselect. So that's in here. I'm going to rotate it, and I'm just going to cover the whole area with one solid piece of wood. Normally I would go in and I would, create grunge brushes and dirty it up and make it look even better, but I'm just doing the general idea. So I select everything and I press Command E or Control E. I go down to X normal and I choose height to normals. This will create a normal map for me right, pretty quickly. I save that out as a normal map. X normal is a free plugin that you can download online. I highly recommend it. It's great. It's perfect. And as you'll see, what I'm doing is I'm Control Zing, going right back to my diffuse and creating now an AO map. And that's an ambient occlusion map, and I'll use that for just to give a little bit more shadow detail. So I'm going to go back and Control Z, and the last thing I'll do is get my cavity map, which I'll be putting into the bump and the displacement tabs. So I'm going to save those out, and I made a mistake here, which I find out pretty quickly, because what I was doing is if you press, instead of doing a underscore, I was doing dot, and it was changing the file type. So the diffuse is good, but when I go in to place the AO map, I realize that there's a problem. But as you can see, the texture just plops right on, and it's perfect pretty much. Right there, I changed the resolution of the texture map when you can go to the editor tab inside of the material section, and I changed it to, I believe, 8 meg, which is 2048. So in this, you can see I had .ao, and what I need to go do is I first realized the problem, and then I need to check my diffuse to make sure what it's saved as. And they were all saved as TIFF files. So I go back in, select it, and I just type in TIFF. Now I should have typed in cavity, and once again I change it to TIFF, and it says that's the same file you just wrote. And luckily I caught myself and I went, no, that's not what I want. So I do no, and I go back in and I just change it to, I believe, ao.tiff. And the last one I do is normal.tiff. And those are all the maps that I'll use. So I come back in here and I plug them in. Load image, normal. Go to my diffusion and I'll get my AO map. And I'll use it as a multiply. That's the mix mode. Next I go to my displacement map. I load my image and my displace, and I click on it, and I don't usually do the 4 subdivisions. I just go to 1, and I lower my strength to about 70 usually, and I drop that down to 0.3, which was even too much at the end of the day. So I come in there, I copy my channel, and then I paste my channel. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a filter to come in and reverse the clipping. That way it's opposite and it raises a different way. So I'm getting 2 maps for 1. I go in, and the last thing I do is I go grab Nick's overhead softbox and the other softbox. I drop in a floor. And I start lining this up, but I don't even know why I did this. I lined it up, and then I changed the paddle for some reason when it was fine. But I bring that up to 0. Rotate it a little bit. And at this point, pretty much ready to render something. I haven't looked at too much. I think I adjust the light a little bit and just make it more top heavy. I'm not really into dramatic lighting here. I just wanted to bring it down a little bit. Yeah, make it 45. Come in. Just want to check it. Texture's a little dark, but it was the same on the other side, so I just decided to render it. So I set it to my physical. I come in, set it to progressive, GI in there, and I give it a diffuse depth of 2. I add my ambient occlusion, and there it is. Very little tweaking, but the entire thing has been UV'd, and what you would do is you'd go in there and do grunge brushes, and you could put labels on it. You can, spice it up as much as you want. But I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and I look forward to making more for you guys. So take care. Bye.